Welcome back to my channel. So let's get right into the video. We're doing the giant villain from the new Resident Evil movie. A lot of interest has been stirred up about this particular character. And forgive my pronunciation, I won't get this game because I don't have a PS5, nor do I game because I get addicted to really good games and then my whole life becomes chaos. Yeah, side note about me, which is why for a long time we had to, well, we got rid of our Xbox for another reason, but it was good because secretly I was up at 6 in the morning trying to play Left 4 Dead with people on the internet, and it was getting pretty bad. But anyways, let's get down to this costume, shall we? The costume in question, Lady Dimitrescu, whatever her name is. But I was commissioned to make this outfit for somebody. So here we are, and I thought it would be a great excuse to do a tutorial for anybody that will probably 100% want to cosplay her in the very near future. Let's go ahead and look at the dress. You know, there are some beta testers going around which are getting screenshots of the game, screenshots of her and the dress. This dress is very interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. So let's go ahead and I have my computer in front of me and I have the images. Hopefully it's visible because I'm not too good at this picture-in-picture stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I'm looking at, and then we can discuss the sketching of it so we have a flat image and an idea how we're going to tackle the pattern, which I will get to you in a little bit. Of course, the pattern is based off the person's measurements. You just have to translate what I'm trying to teach according to your measurements to get this right for yourself. So let's go ahead and look at the dress, shall we? So here we are. Here's one of the pictures that I was sent. Let me go ahead and snooze that. Let me get these kind of layered. So let me go ahead and get something to point with here. So if you look at her dress here, you can see in the front there's a lot of gathering, and there's this little bit right here where it's I'm not sure if there's like a hole in there or it's just gathered, and it makes the appearance that there is like a loop around the whole front. But then also in the back here where she's sitting down, you can see that there's like a capelet, like almost it gives the illusion that this dress, I do believe this dress is all one piece, but it gives the illusion that this dress is two pieces, like a dress and a little bolero or a capelet. So there's like a false little capelet cloaking thing here in the back. And we will also take that into consideration. Here is a closer front view of her dress. Let me go ahead and see if I can zoom into this. Okay. So again, we're looking at the lines. I can see a seam here, and then I see the seam here, which follows the neckline, but this is all one piece. So when we get to the flat pattern, we'll try and tackle this area to make it look the way it does in the video game. Also, again, you can see the gathering here. There's a lot of gathering going on in the front, and I was looking over this. I came across this picture that I was also sent, and you know, for like again, everything seems tight except for this front piece right here. And let me show you the other picture. I don't know if you picked up on it on the other one that's back here. See, it all looks tight, and then the capelet is smooth, the sleeves are tight, but then all of this in the front is all gathered. So we're gonna have to do like a real tent-like situation with the dress, and then just kind of gather everything in the front, or maybe even perhaps it's just like a big parachute, and then you tie the thing around in the front to make, I mean, I'm just speculating at this point. When you're looking at something like this where you really need to figure out before you go start wasting your time cutting and making patterns, you really need to study the lines of the dress, which is what I'm trying to do here. This is one of the better pictures that I've received so far. She does seem to have, because the sleeve is very tight, it probably does open up here at the wrist to allow your fist to go through, and then you button it up so that way it's all tight. It seems in the front, the cutout, if you could call this a cutout. So like you could make like let's say this is like a shirt. Real simple terms. A shirt, and then you cut out a very large bean shape or a heart shape to allow all the breast area to go through this little bean heart shape through the cutout of this blouse. And then you add back in a very big section of fabric that you can regather so you can get this look here, which is what I'm thinking about. And then also, of course, the neckline is very deep. I do have some ideas how to tackle the cloak, the fake cloak in the back, because I do want her to be able to get into this dress with a zipper, and then somehow maybe in the back have the two flaps once you zip yourself up closed so it appears as it's one piece. Because I mean, again, this is a video game, it's just a drawing of something, so actual in terms of real life, how does this even work, do not apply here. So this is where I'm trying to add in some creativity to allow a way for a closure and an opening, an entrance of this dress. So let's go ahead and sketch this, and then once I figure, I feel confident about how we're going to tackle this front cutout area, then we can go ahead and start making the pattern. So here we go. So now don't come for my drawing skills. They're not the greatest, okay? Again, this is to help us make sense of what we're looking at. So when we go to do the paper pattern, we're in a much better place than just trying to pull this out of our butt. You know what I'm saying? So the dress, let's say this is her neck area. I hope this is visible. And then here's her shoulders. Her arms. Okay, here we go. Let me go back on this thing where that other picture is. I need to see the top of that dress. I had that one picture where it was like all boob. There we go. So obviously, and I'm sure you could make this all one piece, but I'm gonna make it easier on myself. Let me go ahead and make a little separation so you could see the arms. And start narrowing it in for the waist and the hip. Okay, so pretty much we have a body. Now that we have a body, let's look at the lines, like I was saying when we're studying that picture. So her cleavage is, you know, this character, she has a lot of cleavage going on. And it's so deep here that you would need, like, if you look back at the pictures, if you pull this back up on the web, it's so low, right? So we know that trying to draw this little bean area out from what I was showing you in the picture. So this is all like all gathered. We know this. And then there's something right here that gathers everything, right? And again, I am thinking this is going to be an insert piece that with all the gathers, it hides the seams from the insert piece. This is how I'm going to approach this. So everywhere I'm gonna put a black line, this is a seam, a cutout, something that was added in. And of course, this is all added in. Then I'm looking at, again, I'm looking at the same picture, which I'm gonna go ahead and move the camera so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm working on this area right now. So we need to go ahead and tackle, like, what is this? What is all that? So let's come back here. So here's where that is. And I mean, this still could be one piece. I'm kind of looking at it now. Perhaps it's not an insert. But this is where we're trying to figure this out, right? So I might end up scrapping this because I'm looking at the picture and you can see this black seam is continuing right there. It's like not right under, but it's pretty, there's a good distance between the armpit and this line that I just drew. And then she has this piece that comes here. And then of course we're gonna have the seam for the sleeves right here. So this is what I'm seeing. Seam for that. I mean, that'll be a seam, so it'll be like with a bias taper facing. But, so here's what I'm looking at. And you know what, I'll just put this black, because of course on the side, there's probably gonna be a seam. But this could change. Again, we are trying to break down these pictures and figure this pattern out. And you know what, the more I think of it, I don't believe this is a seam, excuse me. I think there's just so much fabric in the front when it's gathered right under her bust and, you know, roped off with this part. It creates this gather because, like I said, I was looking at this line and this seam was a continuation of the bust area. So we'll change that up when we get to the pattern. So I think that's what this is like. Let me go ahead and look more at the picture. I mean, like I said, it looks like there's a seam here, but then in other pictures, it's not present. We're gonna stick to the cutout idea that I had, and then we're gonna leave a little bit of space between that and the armpit area. Again, since this is just a costume in a virtual reality setting, the laws of how things are draped, how you enter the dress, how it behaves, they do not apply here. So we need to add back in realistic expectations of how you would have this dress actually work in real life. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's go ahead and make the pattern with a cutout. We'll make a whole dress front with a cutout. So we'll even have this all missing from the front of the pattern. Then we're gonna make a piece and add that back in. Again, the gathering here at the little ribbon thing is going to gather all that extra fabric. We can pin it in place, hide the seams, and then, yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna end up doing that. And then of course, you know, the sleeves is not, I'm not worried about the sleeves. I mean, the sleeves are the sleeves, you know. There's some buttons on the side. She's got sleeves. Now let's go ahead and tackle the back. So if that was the front, then we know this is the back. Let me go back to that one picture where she is sitting down. Okay, and like I said, when we look at the picture, it is completely smooth in the back, like all the tension is being taken in at the front. The back is going to be a smooth, you know, virtually gatherless looking dress from the back. So again, let me go ahead and draw the the body shape as best as I can. Okay, so this is the back of the dress. Very simple, right? Don't need too many bells and whistles for this area. Now, what I'm thinking is I'm gonna have about a 22, 24-inch zipper that runs all along down the center. Oh, and please do believe also the back is going to be 2 pieces, because it really sucks to have a zipper where you have to like cut the slit in it. For me, things tend to start going crooked if I'm trying to do that. So it's best just to have 2 separate pieces from the back, and therefore, you know, as long as you cut straight on your pattern, this area is going to be even and straight. So don't make things harder on yourself. So this is going to be a seam, right? And I'll indicate that with the black color pencil. This is like a face seam. Seam here, we already know that. Side seam. Okay. 22-inch zipper, let's say it stops about here. Let's just say that's the end of the zipper. So what I was talking about, this fake cloak looking thing, what I'm thinking is I'm going to have a piece that connects up here at the shoulder for one side, and another piece that connects up here for the other side. Made in the same fashion as when you draft this pattern, but of course only, and in the picture it looks like it only goes down not too many inches past her armpit. So let's say, just for sketching sakes, and we'll figure this out when we do the actual pattern. Let's stop it right about here on this line. So there will be the cloak that comes right about here. It connects into there. So let's say the one cloak piece looks like this on one side. Okay, that is what is here. And let me go ahead and put the other piece here. And then we'll figure out a way to have it kind of just extend a little bit out of the armpit area. Or maybe it'll just be connected up here. Again, I will figure that out when we get to the pattern pieces, because at least when we do the paper pattern, I can cut stuff out and I can, you know, layer it and see how it fits like a puzzle, you know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking of doing that, and then just having one of them that comes over longer, so that way we can have like a snap somewhere up here. So it, like I said, it gives the illusion that she has some kind of little cloak on, when in reality it's just 2 pieces connected at the shoulder, and then they snap together in the middle to cover the beginning of the zipper entry. So let's go ahead and get started on this pattern. I think I figured it out. I mean, it's not too complicated once you break it down like this. I think I'm good now. So let's go ahead and get to the pattern part. So I'm going to have my measurements. What I asked from her, from what I think that I need for this costume, I asked for the bust, the underbust, the torso, the arm side, which arm side is another word for like your arm hole, the sleeve, overall length, right? Your bicep, elbow, forearm, waist, your back, the total length, the length from your elbow to your wrist, I guess she gave me these measurements twice. It's still shoulder to shoulder, so it's pretty much still the back. And then like armpit to armpit in the back is 17. Again, some of these measurements are a little repetitive, but since I cannot be with this person, I cannot take these measurements myself and then fit this person. So I have to have all these small little differences, so that way I can hopefully make like the best possible fitting costume without the person literally being here. And then the neckline depth. So what I mean by that is, like, you know, when we were sketching this out, we know the neckline on this is like ridiculously deep, right? So in our throat is like, there's like a little thing that we all have right here. It's like a dip in where our collarbones kind of like meet, and then there's the neck. There's like a little hole that we have here. So what I asked is what depth from that little hole on her body to how deep she wanted this neckline. So she told me it was a certain length, 5.5. So that's what I'm needing. That's why I asked for that. So basically, let's go ahead and start setting our margins from the beginning to the end of this pattern. We're gonna go ahead and tackle this whole part, pretty much the whole dress minus the sleeves for the front. And then of course the back is gonna be another monster, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So the length, let's go ahead, like I said, set the margins. The length of the total dress here is 53 inches. Let me go ahead, like I said, I'm just gonna set my margins, 53 inches. In fact, what I like to do as well when I have a very large surface area to work on and I'm trying to get things even, let me real quick get, how wide is this piece of paper I'm working on? 35 inches. So if I half my measurement in half to the 35 line, this is the midpoint of this piece of paper. Again, this paper has no lines, no grid on it to help keep me in check. I have to start doing these things for myself. So now that I have the middle point of this piece of paper I can go off on, let's set that margin. So let me go back. So 53 inches. I'm way at the bottom here of my table, but so let me just try and get that even. So 53. You can't see the bottom, but I started at the 53 down here and let me go all the way up. I'm hoping I can, this table is shorter than I thought. Hold on. I'll just start there. I'll have to start here and then go off the table because 53 inches that's longer than my table. So here's my starting point. So let's move a little bit closer up here so you can see what the heck I'm doing. So when we start doing the pattern, we're gonna do like a T, or it's gonna start looking like a T, and then eventually all these lines will be curved and it'll start turning into something that resembles a flat pattern for a body. So I'm just gonna, let me just make another line all the way across. Keep myself straight. So from this T here, or it's gonna be a T, this line, now I'm gonna make a line down the middle. Again, kind of using that middle point marking that I did in the beginning to help keep me in line here. From here to here, let's go ahead and start marking out our torso. The torso is like the top of your shoulder to the smallest part of your waist. It's that distance. It's like from where your shoulders are, the top of your, not really the top of your body, but that area, because you're not going to count your neck or skull in this, in dresses, right? You start kind of like from your shoulder area. So from there to the bottom, I have here, where am I? 13 inches. So I have 13 inches right here. Also, I want to make note, because of the I guess, the oddness of this cutout that I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go back and like redo another pattern with the seam allowances included. We'll just go ahead and do this paper pattern, and then when we put it on the fabric, then I'm gonna add back in 3/4 seam allowance on this. I just figured that that's gonna be easier for me. So let me make this line here. And let's call this the waist line. Okay, so that's the waistline. So we have that measurement out of the way. So now the back, which is shoulder to shoulder. Let's start making this area like a square, and we're just gonna keep shaping it and keep shaping it. So the back on her is 18. So since we have this midline here, 18 divided by 2 is what? 9. So on this line, I'm gonna put the 9 on the ruler right on that line, which is the midline. And I'm gonna cut myself off here. And then where 18 is, because like we said, 9 plus 9 is 18. So here we go. We're starting to do this. This is where we're at. Our shoulder to shoulder, or AKA, we could say the back measurement, because I use that for the front also. Now let's do the arm side, which again, the arm side is the hole in the shirt part of the dress or the shirt where your arm goes through. Some people have bigger arms than others. Some people are real petite, so this number varies. Again, just kind of like measure yourself around the ball of your shoulder under your armpit to get that full circumference measurement of that part of your arm. So hers is 20. So since we're gonna have a front and back, that's already divided by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. Now let me go ahead and use, not a marker, because that's, usually it takes me a few goes at it on this part. So here I am, aligned up there. I'm aligning the top of my ruler to that back line measurement. So I'm gonna go down, I'm just gonna draw a line to 10. Okay, now let me explain something here. Now shirts, normally, unless it's cut like this for whatever, shirts do not have a sharp 90-degree angle like this. If you ever put like a t-shirt flat side down and remove the sleeves, you're gonna see that the front hole of the shirt comes in a little bit more than the back. And what I mean by that is that the armhole is not going to be a slit. So if you go by looking at something you already have, there's going to be a curve in it. And as we add in this curve, it's going to give us, this line is going to shorten, but it's still going to make 10 inches. Does that make sense? So let me try and make a curve just a little bit. And then we're gonna, once we measure this and it gets to 10, then we know that that cutoff point is gonna be where I'm gonna start making out my bust line, and then we're gonna go back and recheck the arm side. This is just how I do it. I've never gone to school for this. This is just how I learned and figured it out along the way. So right now, here's the 10. I remember I measured down 10 inches. That's the front part of the arm side because it's 20 inches. But I'm gonna try and shorten this, but like I said, in adding the curve, I'm gonna try and keep it at 10 inches. So right now with this little BS curve that I made here, if I measure that out, it measures to 8 inches. And you don't want to like go whoop, all the way in, because now you're deforming the shirt. So just a little bit, and we need 2 more inches on the outside. So I'm just going to come down here. Right here is the bottom of that line that I made for 10 inches, right? We're still on the arm side hole. but this is where I stopped on my little BS curve that I'm doing here. So here's 2 inches, so that should equal 10, but it's got to make more sense than this, right? Shirts don't look like that. So let's work on this area as well as incorporate the bust. So her bust area she measured was 44. Since we have a front and a back side of the dress, 44 divided by 2 is 22. So let's try and correct this to make it look a little bit better. If you have one of those pattern hip rulers to make that really nice curve, you can do that here. I never got one, even though I said I was. Every time I say I'm going to do it, I don't. So 10's right about here. So I was like about 1/4 of an inch off. So I'm going to go ahead and darken that area with my marker so you can see what. So hopefully you can see that. So now we have an end point for the arm side, and then we also have a midpoint to go off of from the pattern. So let's do that 22 across. So now we're going to have 22 again, just because we're trying to get things even, okay? So if 22 is half of 44, the midpoint of 22 is 11. So I'm putting that midline here on the 11 marking of my ruler. 22 falls right here at the end of the arm side. And here's a trick too. If you only want to work on one side, you can kind of cheat. You don't have to do the exact same thing on the other side. Since we have this midline, if you want to drag it all the way down to the end where the hem is, you can fold this paper in half and then just cut it so you make a mirrored pattern on the other side, which is over there. So that way you don't have to do all of this all over again. Another thing would have been cool is if we could have just cut this on the fold. But since we are going to have that strange cutout that I was saying that's how I want to end up doing this, I'm not going to have that part cut on the fold because right now I need to see exactly how it's going to look. So let me do this real quick. So let me make my line all the way to the end. And let's call this our bust line. Okay. So let's go forward. We have armhole, seems pretty good. There could be darts. There probably is going to be darts because of the way the bust is for these particular measurements. But we have the top of the shoulders, the bust line, the armhole, and the waistline. And then of course, I do have the hem marked at some point way down here, just because it's such a long waistline. I mean, a long length, I'm sorry. Let me just mark this here. So let's start doing some more connecting of the dots, shall we? These will be sharp lines, but again, we're gonna smooth them out as we go. I'm going to do that here. Okay, so I'm noticing something because normally the waistline isn't this close to the bust. So I'm wondering if the client, because she also knows how to sew, since basically this is kind of sort of empire dress like, or it is. Normally the next section of it is like right under the boobs, that where the dress of the dress falls from. So I'm going to follow it like this, but normally your waist isn't this close to your bust line. It's a little bit further down. I was just noticing that, but we're going to keep with it because I know because her waistline is almost the exact same measurement as her under bust. So we're just going to keep with this. I just noticed that, I'm sorry. So So now that we have like this area kind of mapped out, let's go ahead and get this part in. Okay, this part right here. So I'm gonna get real quick that neckline depth, which on her is 5.5 inches. So I'm gonna do this. Five and a half inches is right here. So let's say, again, I gotta eyeball this. Make another line across. Ah, I wanna look crooked. That's all right. Hold on. No, I don't want it crooked. Gotta hold it down. Stuff travels when you move it. Okay. So that's the depth of her neckline right here. Let's say this is that little hole in her neck, and that's how deep she wanted the cleavage part to be. Goes in with it. So from the edge of the shoulder, let's come in about, let's do 3.5 inches. Yours could be totally different, 3.5 inches, but from what I'm seeing here, because all these lines are based off of her measurements, that looks right to me. So the bust line is here, but she wants it a little bit higher, I guess for modesty's sake. It is kind of angled, right? It's not exactly straight. There is a slight angle to it. So let me angle this, and then I can measure how far I'm going to do the other side. Okay, so I already have my marking here on this side. Let me see what's the distance from the center to here, because I don't have the arm side on the other side of my 5 inches of this pattern yet. Okay, so that's that. Okay, that's where we're at right now. So let's go ahead and focus on this cutout. Let's start working on that here. So it is like a little weird bean shape. We're not going to draw anything up here because this is her chest area. This has nothing to do with the fabric. So it's everything between here and here. You know what? And just again, for margin's sake, let me extend this line. Because from where I'm at, I just need to see everything. When I look at the pictures, and again, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure this out. In the pictures, it gets a little bit thinner around this area, I want to say. So you know what? Let me change this a little bit. Let me correct this, and then the actual correction you'll see, I'll do it in black. So this is like 3.5. Do it to 2. Again, let me mirror this on the other side. This turns out to be 6.5. Okay, so with the black marker now, see, I had to like look at it upside down and from the top, because in the pictures, this little area is so much thinner. There we go. See, that's looking more like the dress, in my opinion. And another little thing before we go further, usually at the top of the neckline, like normally people's shoulders are not like flat 90-degree angles. There is a slant mostly in people's shoulders. So what I like to do, and this is my rule of thumb, of course, if you have different shoulders, this will affect you greatly. But as a default that I do Once I find the area where the neckline is, or the inner part of this neckline area, I like to go up 1/2 inch, because I always find that it's higher closer to the neckline, and then your shoulders, it slopes downwards. So this is what I like to do as well. And again, some people have squared off shoulders and they don't need this, or other people have more rounded shoulders and they need additional alterations done. But like I said, since she cannot be here with me, I'm just gonna fall back on my default stuff. Let me just connect the lines. So trying to give it like a round, trying to round out the stuff here. So again, this is her actual bust line that she wanted. This is where the bust line falls, but this is how deep she wanted her cleavage. So let me go back to the top, looking downwards at this pattern. And again, I'm gonna need to make my lines. Yeah, making patterns is it can be very tedious. Okay. And then, you know what, I'm not gonna do anything here because later on I'm just gonna fold it and then I'm gonna cut it. Or I might just do it. So we'll see. Right now I just have kind of on both sides because I need to make this bean cutout area even. So this is a margin and this is a margin. So I can't start the bean up here. This is where her cleavage starts. And I can't continue it down here. So the bean has to be in between these two lines. Of course, the center part that goes out, that will cut into the bottom part of the gown. But like I said, first things first, let's get this bust area out of the way. And again, this is our margin too, so we're not gonna cut into the armpit area. So this, having like a weird trapezoidal thing going on here. Hold on, let me check something. 6.5. 6.5. See, I knew this looked off. It looked off to me. Let me correct that. And I moved again. It's okay. You know what? Let me do this in pencil. Is this even? Dude, I'm so ghetto. Look at this. Let me try and make a nice circle with a CD. Look at this. Ghetto pattern making with Sarah. Let's get this done, son. Let me get in front of the camera what you're seeing. I'll correct this side if it's not the same as this side. This side's like the better side, right? Because that's where I'm doing like all the work. Okay, cool. So now, let's continue on. Do I need anything else? Length, neckline depth, under course. No, the other stuff is for the sleeve. So let me try and back up this pattern now. Let's start making the line all the way down. So I'm going to put the top of my measuring tape at that that straight line at the top of the T. Remember, we had the T at the beginning. Let me go down to... Okay, so pretty much the bottom of my paper is like the end of the road here. So from where, do you see where here's the bust, and then it's sloped into the waistline, or the under bust in this case. So what I'm going to do, and this is completely up to you, this is a ruler straight aligned with the waistline, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the point here, but we want to swivel out the ruler. Because like I said, I believe this dress is just like basically one big tent, and then everything is just scrunched in the middle to make it look the way that it looks in the picture. And if we're off, of course, you're making this for yourself. You're watching this tutorial. If you stay with me on this, eventually you will try it on and you will do the alterations yourself to make it better. Okay? So in fact, again, I'm not going to keep this sharp one, this sharpness. We'll go ahead and smooth this out in a bit. So I'm going to swivel this out. So right now I have it as you see, okay? It is swiveled out. And I moved it again. Hold on. That's one part. And in fact, let me continue my midline over here, just because it keeps me in check. Like, it just makes me feel good about myself, you know what I mean? So let's work on this sharpness over here. I am going to be adding back in some inches, but again, just how this dress is, in the end, it's really not going to matter. But we can't have this because no one is shaped like this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I keep my wrist, you know, like those circle makers. You keep your wrist and you move it, and you'll make an even shape. So as I'm doing that here, I'm going on the edge of that, and I'm just going to, I skewed a little bit, but that's okay. I can come back in and join the line. So hopefully you saw that, and now I feel pretty good here. I'm just gonna follow my blue line with the black marker. Okay. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and continue on with this weird section here. And then when we cut this out too, this will kind of act as another pattern that comes out of this, but we'll go ahead and do a little bit further on that here. I don't even, what do I call that? Like the insert, the gathered insert? Like what do I even call that part? Like I really don't know what you would call that. But anyways, so this will be cut out, and what I'm thinking is and then this whole section, we'll treat it kind of like as a good day, but not really, but yeah. A good day is just an insert you put in something to make it wider. You know what? I'm going to use this initial line that I did with the green as a continuation here. Okay. So remember I did that one line and I was like, oh no, it's not wide enough. Let me continue on because it runs through this bean area. Let me see. And I'm just making a marking at the bottom here. From the midline, I did 8 inches. So 4 this way, 4 this way. Because this is what I'm thinking. You see me starting to connect my yardstick with this area. I'm gonna connect it. Except this is gonna come all the way down, extended. Cool, yeah, I see it. I see it, it is hard to tell. I think I'm good here. Let me go ahead and do this part in black. So you can be like, what did you do, girl? And then we can start cutting it out. So I'm starting at the line of this bean, not the waistline, but there's a little black line up here where I was drawing out the bean cut out. Let me just do a long line all the way down. This is gonna go all the way down to the bottom of the hem. So we'll concentrate on one side and I can just cut 2 now. Now it makes more sense to my eyes. So I have the bean cut out. It has like a stem that comes out from the side of the dress. I already curved this section out. This peak right here, I'm probably gonna have to add in a dart. Pretty sure. But I'll see when I put that on my mannequin. But I mean, usually with a woman's breast, there's gonna be a dart somewhere. So that'll come later. That can come on the alterations part. So in fact, I'm not gonna cut right down the center. I'm gonna start cutting on this part here. The heck is under my, oh. Felt like I had something under the paper. So I'm gonna cut on this last line that I did because, like I said, I'm gonna pop out 2 patterns from this one-sided piece, okay? And then, like I said, since I just drew it like this, I don't feel like making another paper pattern with the seam allowance added. So like I said in the beginning, when I do the fabric, I'm just gonna draw around it an extra 3/4 seam allowance for the sides. Just because. Here, let me put a clamp down here. Only drawback with this shipping paper, it curls. It wants to curl so bad. So after I do this, then I have to go and do the ironing of it, so that way it lies flat, or else it just wants to curl everywhere. And it's terrible. Terrible, I say. What? Did you see that? I was trying to use my scissors like a clamp. What's wrong with me? Out the armhole. Drop it. Or you know what, maybe you don't even have to do this. Maybe there's a pattern out there already made. But if not, hopefully this helps. So. So save this piece, but don't throw it away. It will not be used as is. This will be something that we're going to build on for the center. Because remember, the center is a lot of fabric. So I'm going to show you how to expand that after this video so we can get that part that we need. Okay, so let me kind of straighten this up. So this is the front, okay? And we're gonna label it just like, you know, we bought the pattern at the store. So for the front, we know for this section, this is gonna be mirrored to the other side minus the insert. we're going to cut to, technically these are not the front, these are, I'm gonna call this the side front. So we're gonna cut 2 on the side front. And then on the next video, because this video is already pretty long. Oh my God, see, I need to iron this. It just wants to curl and curl and curl. So the next video, what we're going to do, hold on, I need something to hold this curl down. So on the next video, we're gonna use this piece that we popped out. But what we're gonna do is we're going to make maybe like 1 or 2 slits in it from the hem to the top, just leaving enough so we can expand it and swivel outwards. And then once we get the volume that we want, then we're gonna put paper under it and tape it down so it becomes fanned out, and then we'll make our markings. But I mean, that's the next video. If you don't understand what I mean, it's definitely a video, part of the next part of the video that you do not want to miss. Because again, we're not gonna cut it as is. We're gonna expand it, and then once we kind of accordion it back in to insert it into the dress, it's still gonna make this shape, pretty much, okay? So in fact, on this piece, I'm gonna already just put something down because I just thought of it. We're gonna put the symbol for cut on the fold for that side, because this is going to be the center front. But like I said, we're gonna make some slits in it and swivel it out and expand it, because remember, that front part of the bust where her boobs are and it cascades down the dress, there's so much material gathered there. So this is in my opinion, this is a necessary part to that front section. So with that said, I hope this part of the video is easy to understand somewhat. I'll see you in the next video when we do the sleeves and that front section. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.